Hello, my name is Zach Gibbs, and I'm a content developer within education services inside Juniper Networks. And today we will be going through the Configuring MAC VRF VLAN Bundle Learning Byte. All right, so here is our topology. We have 5 devices in our data center fabric, or 5 switch devices, I guess. And we have spine 1, spine 2, leaf 1, and leaf 3. And we already have the underlay and overlay network configured, so everything is set up and good to go there. And so what we need to do here is we need to configure MAC VRF with VLAN bundling, or VLAN bundle service type. And you can see here that leaf 1 has 2 devices connected to it, host 1 and host 3. And then you can see it uses the XE004 interface for host 1 and the XE003 interface for host 3. And then we have leaf 3, which is connected to host 2 and host 4. You can see .2 for host 2 and .4 for host 4. That is the IP addresses, of course. And we have XE004 that connects to host 2 and XE003 that connects to host 4. Now, those 4 hosts are within the same subnet. They're within the 10.1.1.0/24 subnet. And then up here on the left, we have the loopback addresses of spine 1, spine 2, leaf 1, and leaf 3. So you can see them there. And then we have the host address information. We have host 1 uses VLAN v10, the IP address we already talked about, and VNI 5010. And the rest of the hosts have basically everything the same, except for, of course, they have different IP address that we've already talked about. And so we want to configure MAC VRF with VLAN bundle, and we're going to have host 1 and host 3 connect into a MAC VRF, and they're going to connect into the same one, and that's going to have VLAN 10 with VNI 5010. And same thing on leaf 3. There's going to be a MAC VRF with host 2 and host 4 connecting in. And that's also going to be VLAN v10 that uses VLAN ID 10, VNI 5010. And then the goal here is to get them to all communicate. Now, remember with VLAN bundle, it is a way to isolate the hosts into one broadcast domain using one VNI and one EVI. And so that's the goal of what we're doing here. So let's go ahead and jump to the CLI and get this going. All right, so here is leaf 1. Let's go ahead and jump to the routing instance. We'll call this MAC VRF 1 because of my lack of imagination there. And we'll first configure the instance type, and that'll be MAC VRF. And then we need to configure the protocol information, the EVPN information that is. Now, if you weren't using MAC VRF and you were using just standard ERB or CRB, the EVPN protocol configuration would happen in the main routing instance. But since we're using MAC VRF, we're configuring it here in the MAC VRF routing instance. When you set the encapsulation, I guess I should say EVPN first. And encapsulation is going to be VXLAN and then extended VNI list. We just need the 15010. We could use the shortcut statement of all, but really it doesn't matter since we're only using one VNI. And then we need to set the VTEP source interface. We're going to say the loopback interface for the VTEP source interface. And then we have to set the service type here. We have 3 different options: VLAN aware, VLAN based, and VLAN bundle. With this learning byte, we are doing VLAN bundle for the service type. Then we need to set the 2 interfaces. That's going to be XE003 and also 4. And then the route distinguisher. That's we're going to set this based off the loopback address. And then set the VRF target. Now, of course, the route distinguisher needs to be different from leaf 1 to leaf 3, but the route target here needs to be the same. They need to match. Target :65,000:1 for the route target, just need to make sure that matches. And then we can set the VLAN information. VLAN, we're going to call that V10. It's going to have VLAN ID 10 and VXLAN VNI of 5010. And you can see here, that is the configuration that we just did. And we still need to define the 2 interfaces. So we'll set XE003 family Ethernet switching, and then it's going to be an access interface. So we don't need to set the interface mode to access. By default, it'll be an access interface. And we need to set the VLAN member to V10. And then basically the same thing with XE004. So I'm just going to change the interface. And we should be good there. Let's go ahead and commit the configuration. And then we'll jump to leaf 3 and repeat that configuration with a few minor differences. So here is leaf 3. Let's first configure those interfaces. Get that out of the way. And then we'll do the same for XE004. And then let's go to the routing instance, call this MAC VRF-1 as well. And then set the instance type to MAC VRF, set the protocols, EVPN, encapsulation, VXLAN, VNI, extended VNI list. And that's going to be 5010. And then we need to set the VTIP source interface. That's going to be the loopback interface. Service type, VLAN Bundle. And then the two interfaces. And then the route distinguisher. This needs to be different than what we set on host, or rather leaf 1. And we'll just base it off the loopback address of leaf 3. And then we need to set the route target, and that needs to match. And then we set the VLANs. V10 VLAN ID is going to be 10 again. And then VXLAN VNI is going to be 5010. Let's go ahead and commit that configuration. And I do want to go over just a little bit of the configuration before we move on. You can see here that we have this set to MAC VRF. That's very important. We have the EVPN configuration configured properly. We have to set the encapsulation of VXLAN. And then the extended VNI list has to be set to 5010 because that is the VNI we're using. And then we have the VTIP source interface. We're specifying the loopback there. And then we're specifying the service type. This is where you'd specify whether it's going to be something else like VLAN aware. And then we specify the two interfaces. And then the route distinguisher needs to be unique. And the route target needs to match. And then you specify the VLANs under here with the correct parameters. We got VLAN ID 10, VXLAN, VNI 5010. And this is also something, if you were configuring just normal ERB or CRB or something like that, the VLAN configuration happens in the main routing instance. And so that's the beauty of MAC VRF here, is that we're able to have that information and that configuration contained within the routing instance. So that does bring us to the end of this Learning Byte. In this Learning Byte, we demonstrated how to configure a VLAN bundle service type with MAC VRF in a data center. So as always, thanks for watching.
Visit the Juniper Education Services website to learn more about courses. View our full range of classroom, online, and e-learning courses. Learning paths, industry segment and technology-specific training paths. Juniper Network's certification program, the ultimate demonstration of your competence. And the training community, from forums to social media. Join the discussion.